Hey, welcome, gorgeous. Today we are talking about friends. And we are taking it from this angle. You have a friend who you don't like. Why do you have a friend who you don't like? What's going on? What's going on? You know it. You have this. Sometimes it's friends you don't like slightly, or not that. Sometimes there are people who greet you the wrong way, but they're still your friends, fine. But sometimes it's someone who has consistently shown up in a way that you disagree with. They're fundamentally just not your person anymore. And yet, you're still there. Yet, you still call them your friend. When they call you on the phone, you roll your eyes. When you think about spending time with them, you're like, ah. And yet, you're still there. And that's what we're talking about friendship. Friendship is not forever. I know there was the song, Friends are Friends Forever. Forget it. You do not have to be friends. Sometimes it's not even possible to be friends forever, if not for any other reason, because you change. You change. You are not the same person you were last year. You have hopefully grown. But at the least, you've changed. There are things that you used to like then that you don't like now, or there are perspectives that you've changed in your mind. So, if you change, the other people will also be changing. So, having to force this relationship to remain the same way as it was when you were in class two is asking for a little too much. Now, I'm not saying you have to ditch all your friends. I'm not saying it's not possible to have long term friendships. I have one. I have actually someone who I met when I was in primary school, and we're still friends. It's just that the friendship dynamic has dramatically changed. When we were in primary school, she used to be my source for Hardy Boys. Hardy Boys, the books. Yeah, and I don't know what I used to be her source for strange and dramatically different books. And we had that kind of connection. We both liked to read. We still both like to read. But really, we've gone in highly different directions, and sometimes just giving ourselves this space to be ourselves and not trying to force that we must be together and we must be bosom buddies and we must do everything all the time together is probably what has enabled our relationship to continue to grow. And to give you another example, do I start here? Wait, let's start here. I have a couple of notes. So, how do you know that there is a friendship that is simmering? Because remember, we have these different parts of us, and there are things that you are consciously aware of, and there are others that you are not. If you've had this good girl training where friendships, relationships are important, they must be nurtured, and at whatever cost, they are supreme. Your views take second place because you're the good girl. You are taking a second place. These other people are taking a higher place. It could be that because of this, do I call it a belief system in your mind, you're not consciously aware that there's a friendship that is grating at you. So here are a couple of points to see that this is the case. And again, I don't mean this of all your friends. I take this as a little, think about it. Take it in, take what works, leave what doesn't. And it's not that all your relationships need to go. So, constant disagreement is one sign. You don't agree about anything. You're always at loggerheads. Whenever you have a conversation, you're just thinking, this chick. Different perspectives, especially about the bigger things. If you have this fundamental difference about the way you see things like racism. I know. So that perhaps is a sign that there has been a shift. You have no fun. Hanging around this person just makes you think, crap. I have to go see. You don't have to go see anybody. And you want them to change. I think this is an important one. Let's take that example of racism. So, your friend somewhere along the way became racist. So they don't like X kind of people for whatever reason. And she's loud about it. She makes her opinion felt. And you, perhaps actually, you started off from the same dynamic. Perhaps you used to agree and then you have grown up in life and then have changed your mind. Now you see the world differently. But then it now truly grates you the wrong way to hear her speaking this way. You feel that it is wrong in the year 2025 to be hating on group X just. And you can see you've done the work on yourself. So you can see that this hatred or this dislike or this whatever arises from something that you have worked over. For whatever reason, you had the belief yourself, you have managed to look at it, you have gotten over it, and now it offends you when people are ignorant in that way. She hasn't taken the same path, she hasn't gone through the same journey, and you want her to change. You know that the path that you're on is better, so it only makes sense for her to change. So you're either nagging her, you're constantly at her neck telling her, you cannot say that, you cannot do that, that is wrong, da di da. Or you blow up at her, saying that, don't ever say that in my presence. Or you distance yourself from her. Whenever she says this, you move back and then you wait for that to pass and then you come back and re engage. So, this thing of trying to change people is not nice. We really, really have to let people be who they are. And they show you who they are. If your values and system has changed and you no longer tolerate people who are a certain way, the solution is to move away from them. The solution is not to save them. You're not their savior. You're nobody's savior but yourself. People are allowed to be ignorant. People are allowed to be however it is that they are. And perhaps from their perspective, you're ignorant. Who knows? Maybe they feel that there's something that you've given up. This belief that you used to have is your fundamental inside, you know. And I mean, take racism, but take it from tribalism and any other ism. You don't like tall people, you don't like short people, you don't like whatever kind of people. Whatever kind of blocker that we put on people, it could be something as simple as, can I say this? Can I say this? Vegans. I have nothing personally against vegans, but it's like the vegans and the Jehovah Witnesses have such a strong way of coming at you and saying this is what you need to change and this is what you need to do, that it grates a lot of people the wrong way. So I'm not talking about them and changing them, no, not at all. But I'm talking about having this this view. Now I've lost my train of thought. I was talking about having, okay, anism, having this view that you have changed, the other people hold, you no longer believe in it, step away. Step away. And with friends, it's a little difficult because sometimes we feel that friends, again, are forever. And there is the fear of, if I let I had a name for her, Stella. If I let Stella go, where am I going to find a new friend? Stella and I have been friends since um whatever, class 2. Stella and I have been growing together. I know all the people she knows all the people I know. But then I've been noticing things about her. And if I let her go, where am I going to find a new Stella? So, scarcity mindset. Scarcity. Oh, they say, I mean, if you have two hands. So if you're holding on to something, unless you let it go, you won't have the capacity to hold on to something, to receive something new. Yeah. That's why they say get rid of your stuff. If you have old stuff in your closet, get rid of it. Hoarding it and just keeping it there makes you unable to receive new things because you don't have the space. You don't have the space for it. Sorry. So the same with these friendships that aren't working for you. You might not have the space to find a group of people who, oh, excuse me, no, to find a group of people who you gel with. Why? Because it drains your soul to be with someone who you fundamentally don't like. It grates at you. You're just not having a good time, which means that when you present yourself to the rest of the world, you're not a good time kind of person. You can't attract the kind of people who you truly desire to hang around with if you're in a bad mood created by hanging around with people who you don't like in the first place. You feel, oh, this is the one. You don't want to hurt Stella. You think it would be rude to walk away. This one is also just a fear of confrontation, is it? Not even confrontation. It's the fear of not being liked. When you do not want to tell Stella that this is not working, I want out, and you're telling yourself that you do not want to hurt her, what you're actually at the base doing is you do not want to show up as the not good girl. You do not want to show up as the source of this disengagement. You are afraid that doing this will make you less likable. You are afraid to stand up for what you really believe in for fear that others won't like you, for fear of her opinion. You are living in a nightmare landscape, depending on how terrible Stella is, so that Stella does not dislike you. Do you see that? It makes you a hostage. And you're not a hostage to Stella. You're a hostage to your fear. And sorry to everyone out there called Stella. That's that's just the name that popped into my head. And sorry to the Stellas, I know I love you. Not you. So you're a hostage to your fear. And this goes back to the ego. The ego, your ego, likes things to be the way they are, and the ego fears death. The ego fears that if we change things any way at all, we shall die. And the ego tries to keep you from dying. And the ego is very strong. So this non-movement, this situation where you're just standing still, mark timing in this friendship that you do not like, has been created by your own blocker. You're blocking yourself from facing up to your authenticity, facing up to who you really are, because you fear, if I do this, I will disappoint Stella. I'm a good girl. Remember, that's a training. I'm a good girl. Good girls don't disappoint. We'll take the bad so that others can have the good. Time to change that. Yeah, the last point I had here is that you expect the friendship to be forever. No. And maybe a caveat on that, friendships can be forever, but they're not likely to stay the same. They're not likely to stay the same. So if Stella has become this crazy racist person who you do not like, let her be. Let her go. Let her go. They say let it go. If it's meant to be yours, it will come back. Perhaps she shall go through some. Perhaps your letting her go is what is going to make her wake up and realize that she is insufferable. Yeah. And that is what, in 2-3 years, she'll go make the changes into herself and maybe knock on your door. Well, send a text. And then from there, you'll be telling yourself, yeah, this one we can try again with. And then you meet each other in life where you are and you take it up, or you don't, because it is truly up to you. And I think that's where we're going into now. The liberation that you need to choose yourself. I know that this is against all the good girl training, but standing up for you and what is important to you is fundamental. You are important, my dear. You are super important. You are the center of your life story, or you should be. You should be at the center of your life story. It sounds very selfish, and for good girls, these are the things that we've been taught against. But we're working at removing the good girl moniker. We're not good girls anymore. We don't have to be good girls gone bad if that's not what you want to be. But we need to move away from this brainwashing that told us that we are the smallest, that everyone else must come first, that Stella's happiness is more important than yours. No, no. In fact, I'm reminded of a story. When I was very young, I had a friend. she didn't like me, but I didn't know. She it was way back when. So I'd call her on the phone. We were in the same school, we were in the same class, I guess. I'd call her on the phone, and then I'd often find her reading. She liked to read. So she would spend the time on the phone reading to me what she was reading. And I'd listen and listen until I decided I had had enough, then tell her I had to go. So that was her way of letting me know that she did not want to be my friend, I guess. That was her hint. That was her hint. And it took me quite some time to get that hint because I thought, but she's my friend. So I found her very strange. Why does she spend the time on phone to reading the book? So from her perspective, she was not wasting her time on me. She had learned these truths that I have learned so much later in life. And then this was, I think, I wasn't even 10, I was maybe 8. And she had learned that her time is important. She didn't really know how to have that confrontational conversation with me. And confrontation is such a strong word. So, not confrontational, but how to let me go in a way that was kind to me. So, this was how she did it. She just continued speaking on the phone. And that really is it. Even you don't have to blast people and tell them to get out of your life. No, you can do it slowly. You can do it just the way this girl did. So, learnings from an 8-year old, oh, many, many years later. She chose herself. And in choosing herself, she said, and it was in the days before there was caller ID. So, this is the handset. I'm calling her home. Her parents pick up the phone and tell her, Shiro is on the line. So what can she do? She can't tell her parents to hang up. She can't tell her parents to say she is not there. So she'll carry the book that she was reading and spend the time there with me. And eventually I learned. She chose her. Her time was very important. Choose you. Your time is very important. You do not have to spend a single further minute listening to things you don't want to listen to. You can state it forthright. You can hint it. You can move away. You can refuse to engage. You can remove your energy. In fact, removing your energy is a very strong thing to do. And that is what that girl did. She was not present with me. And in time, I came to learn that I am worth. I need only hang out with people who are present with me, who want to provide their energy to me. So I stopped calling and we stopped being friends. And the world didn't end. We were fine. The life went on, which is the point here. Choose your happiness and peace of mind. Oh, it's better for them. Look at that. In fact, I like this example of that girl because imagine if she were there on the phone talking to me and she didn't want to. It's very mean. We don't see it that way, but it's really, really mean to hang out with someone in that way because you're cheating them. It sounds harsh, yeah? In engaging with people you do not want to engage with, you're not giving your best to them. You're not giving them your best angle. And you're probably nitpicking and telling yourself, look at what she said, look at what she did, da, 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 da. You somewhat lose respect for them. And it's not fair to them. Imagine spending your time where it's not wanted and not knowing that. And I gave this example once. I've done this as well before. I had this friend, again friend. I guess I was on the other side of that, so I also didn't know. This was now when I was in high school. Someone who liked me a lot, and I didn't like them, and I didn't know how to tell them. I found them creepy, and I'm allowed to find them creepy. So in their minds, they were not creepy. In my mind, they were. So I didn't know how to tell them. And that's probably something that we're not really taught in life, how to reject. How to reject. So what I did is that I would be speaking behind her back with all my friends and saying, look at her, she's how terrible. And that's the meanness. So I was being mean in that I wasn't, well, I was talking behind her back, fine, but I wasn't engaging with her. I wasn't enjoying the relationship. I was giving her not my best. I was not enjoying I was not enjoying it while I was there. She didn't notice because unlike my 8-year-old friend, I wasn't even hinting. I just didn't know what to do. So she thought that we were having a great friendship. So when she learned about through someone else about the things I was saying, she was so dramatically hurt. Yeah. And the hurt comes, yes, from the things that I was saying, but also from the facade, not the facade, the situation that I had created. It was fake. I had made her believe that I was enjoying her company, and yet I was not. So she was thinking, I mean, maybe it was around a year or something, or slightly less. But then she then had to go back and think about all that time we spent when I didn't really like her. It's really it's mean to the other person. We don't like to think of ourselves, especially if you're brought up as a good girl. You don't like to think of yourself as mean. But these things that we do when we're being passive aggressive and we're being less than ourselves, we're not being authentic, we're not showing up the way we want to, is not nice to the people that we're doing this with. So, learning to stand up for ourselves, learning to occupy our space, squaring your shoulders and holding out your chest and saying, "This is me," and take it or leave it, is really good for the other people. Because then they know. They know. And you've probably been in this situation. Well, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. Especially, it feels so much worse, I guess, in a dating situation where you thought that we had a thing we were doing, and then suddenly it implodes or goes away, or you realize that it's not what you thought it was, and then you're left there thinking, but especially if there was I had this once. There's a guy I was dating, and then when the relationship ended, he I was questioning it, and then he turned out not to really. He wasn't all that into me. There were all the hints. I mean, I've even read the book. He was not all that into you, but it hadn't really clicked, because again, a part of my mind didn't really want to see it. So this is an invitation to look at your friendships, look at the people who you hang around with. Breathe in. Okay, let's do it. Breathe in. Take the time to consider your friends. Let the deeper part of you tell you about the ones who grade you the wrong way, and consider them. And consider whether it's a situation, a friendship that you want to remain in. It's okay to work it out, because sometimes it's the conversation. Maybe it's just something small that you can have a conversation about. But when you've been feeling for some time that this fundamentally is not for you anymore, do something about it. Wake up and do something about it. What you do about it could be the disengaging, but it could be like a frank conversation. And the frank conversation, I find, is the better way to be, because it might be hard, but it doesn't need to be a harsh conversation. With the racist Stella that we were talking about, it is a conversation to let her know that I don't appreciate when you say these things about these other people. And then you tell her, I mean, it's not that you want to change her. You're just saying that for me, this doesn't feel right anymore. And because of that, I even just say that. And then if you do then want to spend less time with her, she will begin to understand. It's not, you're not ghosting her. You're not just disappearing from her life and blocking her from your phone book. That's not very mature. So there are different things that you can do, but the first step is to notice when you're doing this. Girls, as always, I love having you here. Let us meet next time. Have a great day.